Last week, I had the opportunity, the privilege of going to the convention of the Rabbinical Assembly in Montreal. It is an opportunity for rabbis around the country and really around the world to be able to get together, to learn some Torah together, and also put our heads together to try to figure out what the future of our movement is going to look like. And it was wonderful seeing friends, and it was wonderful seeing teachers. And there were some fascinating workshops and some different opportunities to talk about what does the future of the conservative movement really look like. And there was a pretty innovative classes that we had. There was an entire class talking about the ethics and the halakha of what Judaism is going to look like with artificial intelligence. Not just programmed artificial intelligence, talking about, Alexa or Google Homes, whatever it might be, but an AI that is actually autonomous, that makes its own decisions. What does halakha look like in respect to that? And there are other workshops about how to effectively use social media and technology for teaching Torah, and all of these different opportunities for us to take our Judaism and our conservative movement into the 21st century. And those workshops were great, and they were a lot of fun, and they were interesting. And at the same time, the most important nugget, the most important idea of what's going to take us into the future that I brought back with me had nothing to do with any of those workshops. It had nothing to do with our limud, with our Torah study that we were doing. It came from a conversation I had with Rabbi Brad Artson. Rabbi Brad Artson, who is the dean of the Ziegler School for Rabbinical Studies, the conservative rabbinical school in LA, and is also our scholar, this is my shameless plug, our scholar in residence for the Rabbi Groner Scholar in Residence. Hi, Mrs. Groner. So if you can be here for that weekend, June 14th, 15th, he is an incredible speaker, an incredible rabbi, a kind and compassionate man. I promise you will learn a lot of Torah from him. So please mark your calendars and come. But my conversation with him went like this. We were having a conversation about what does it mean to fill our synagogue spaces and to fill our holy spaces. And he said, Rabbi, I need to tell you a story. I live in Los Angeles, and I've been going to a lot of different synagogues. I've tried this synagogue and this synagogue. There's no lack of synagogues in Los Angeles. But when I knew that I found my shul, when I knew that I found the synagogue that meant that I was at home, which happens to be Ikar for him, which is an independent minyan in Los Angeles, he said, I knew that I felt at home there because this happened. Because Rabbi Brad Artson has a son who is autistic. And his son, the greatest love, the greatest joy that his son has in his life other than his family and of his friends is Torah. Not just the study of Torah, but the actual physical ritual and the embodiment of Torah. And especially during the Torah service. When the Ark is open, when the Aron is open, and the Torah comes out from on high and comes along the Kahal and this Hakafah and this big grand pageant of bringing out the Torah, he gets so excited, so filled with fervor and love and enthusiasm that he can't stay in his seat. He bolts up to the front and wants to be in the very first row to be able to kiss the Torah and to dance with the Torah. And Rabbi Artson said, I felt like at home when I was at Ikar because it was the very first place we've ever been where people didn't shake their heads, where people didn't say, is there any way that you can have him calm down? Is there any way that you can maybe make him be a little bit quieter? It was the first place that not only tolerated this child expressing his enthusiasm for the Torah, but had people in the congregation with tears in their eyes for the fervor and the love that this young boy has for Torah. That's the nugget I brought back with me. We have a lot of challenges in the conservative movement, and we have a lot of challenges as Jews in the 21st century. And part of those challenges, yes, look like a technological challenge. How do we bring Judaism and how do we bring Torah to people who might be at home or who might not be in the synagogue space or who might be only online? We have these challenges, and we need to face those. But at the same time, there is the spiritual challenge that none of this can happen if we don't see the fervor and the love and the passion that comes for Judaism in all of its forms. Now, I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction because I'm not worried about our kids here. And for those of you who come every Shabbat morning, you shouldn't be worried about our kids either. Because you see them coming down as fast as lightning at the end of services to come and sing Adon Olam and to get some candy, and I promise you it's not about the candy. If you can see the look in their eyes when they are tearing down here, I mean, they do it for Pesach, and we give them Pesach candy. So we know it's not the candy. They come down with such enthusiasm and such love because they get to stand on the bima of Shari Tzedek and sing Adon Olam. That's what they love. And if you stay for lunch and you get to see some of our children do Birkat Hamazon after we eat, and you see them screaming at the top of their lungs, singing with such pride and such joy, that's what they love. It has nothing to do with the 7-layer cake. It has nothing to do with the juice. It has everything to do with the fact that our kids here feel that this is their home. And the secret is that they have ownership over this place in ways that we don't. To a point where some of our kids, I'm going to put David Gutman on the spot because God bless you, David Gutman. Where he pulled me aside a couple of weeks ago and he said, I want to take you to a secret room. It's called the rabbi's room. And I'm like, David, I'm familiar with the rabbi's room. It's where I get ready for Shabbat services. But these kids have such an intimate knowledge of this place, and it's not about the same kind of understanding that we have about this place. It's truly filled with joy. With a love and a joy for Shabbat and for Torah in a way that we don't really understand. And right now, while we're sitting here and we're sitting politely with our hands in our laps, they're in the back and they're singing and dancing over in our Berman Center wing. And they're marching around and they're singing songs in Hebrew and they have their stuffed Torahs. They're having a great time. I'm not worried about them. But I am worried about us. I'm not worried about us in the same kind of way where I'm worried about our spiritual souls, because I think that we have an understanding here and we've done a lot of great adult education and our services are beautiful and they're meaningful. But there's also something that we need to be able to understand and learn from our children. Because our children are trying to teach us something very important, which is that Judaism is not supposed to be an art museum. Judaism isn't something where we have to stand back and we look at the pictures and we can admire from afar, but please, please don't touch. Judaism and Shabbat services are supposed to be a children's museum. We're supposed to touch, we're supposed to get our hands dirty, we're supposed to let loose, we're supposed to shake off all of those cobwebs of discomfort and those feelings of embarrassment and being judged because we want to pray and we really want to have that fervor. And if we want to know what that looks like, then we have to look into the eyes of our children. We have to look into the eyes of our children when we light candles and we see their eyes light up when we light Shabbat candles. We have to look into the eyes of our religious school students when we invite them for Hoshana Rabbah and they go around all the Hakafot and they are shaking that lulav and etrog like crazy. And we look at them like, they're naive, they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. We don't. Where we need to get to is something that was beautifully addressed in our parasha this morning, in our Torah reading this morning. Where the rabbis, where in our Torah we learn, we have all these beautiful ideas of mitzvot, all of these different commandments, but one of the foundational ones of holiness is this commandment that says that we're not supposed to sacrifice our children to foreign gods. And I think that that's Peshita, right? That's simple. We can all understand and we can all agree that we should not sacrifice our children to other gods. Right? Right? Good. All right. You had me worried there for a second. I'm glad we're all in the same place. But what I'd like to propose is that we read this even a little bit deeper. That's the shot. We know we're not supposed to sacrifice our children to other gods. But what I would like to suggest is that we read that verse in a way of understanding that we don't sacrifice the child within us either. Because the children that understand what it means to hold on to the Torah scrolls, to hold on to the lulav and etrog, to kiss the Torah, and to fall in love with these ritual objects in not a way where it has to be cerebral, but really coming from the heart, that's the child that exists in all of us. We have that. And it's authentic, and it's true, and it's an expression of who we are. We have challenges. There are challenges that face us. And I promise you that we're going to be at the vanguard of all of them when it comes to technology and outreach and social media. Those are things that we can handle. But I'm also giving you our promise and our dedication that we're working on, and hopefully that all of us are working on learning from our kids in that way. To be able to turn our Judaism back into the children's museum that it's supposed to be. To be able to get our hands dirty, to be able to put our hands on a tradition that is thousands of years old, and to embrace it with the same kind of love and the same kind of fervor that our children do. So now on this Shabbat, as we head into Musaf, and we get ready for our silent Amidah, and then for our Hazara, the repetition, let me invite you that during that silent prayer to go ahead, if you're wearing a tallis, put it on your head if you'd like. See what it feels like to feel a little silly and to feel wrapped in ritual and tradition. And during the Hazara, when the Chazan leads us beautifully through Musaf, feel free to dance a little. Feel free to get out of your comfort zone. Feel free to smile and laugh because prayer is supposed to be fun and joyful and good. And feel free to stick around after shul and to have lunch with all of us and get to know this community in a way where you're embracing each other and falling in love with the Torah that's coming from your neighbor. We have a lot to celebrate this morning. We have Afrafs, we have birthdays. There's a lot of incredible things going on here. It's time that we really start to feel that joy and to bring out the children within all of us. Shabbat Shalom.